Guys, Monday night, Novak News. You've got Mark and Lisa Novak. And tonight we're going to be talking about selling in spring because we must hear it 20 times a day. It's very last season. Stay tuned for this, guys. Wow, did we get a
Oh,
new
yeah,
intro?
it sounds different.
What was that?
I don't know.
It says real talk. So I don't know what that was. I was like, hang on, wait, what is this? It
Well, it
sounded
is
like,
real. It's changed to Real Talk Weekly, but I didn't realize that music changed and the whole thing changed.
wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I felt like I should have been doing like somersaults and stuff to that music.
Well, ACDC
Like,
is coming. Yeah, Akadaka's coming to Australia with their
yeah,
concert. So,
I love
it's
AC/DC.
yeah, it's fitting. It's fitting.
Love
It's fitting.
AC/DC.
Let's
So what do you
let's talk
reckon,
about
Mark?
selling in spring.
Let's
Or
talk about selling in spring. You
I've got to
know,
give you
it's
a I've got to give you my cliche one, Lise, because I know you love cliche. Um,
yeah.
the people are like bears. They
Mm.
hibernate in winter and they come out in summer, and that's exactly what they do with property.
This is true. This is very true. So the amount of times, look, I do a lot of appraisals a week, and the amount of times I'm sitting in front of a vendor and they go, "So we're not thinking about selling now, but we are going to put the property on the market in spring." And I go, "Okay, why are you waiting until spring? Just out of interest." And it's personal circumstances, or you just prefer to sell when the weather's warmer. Oh, no, 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 because all of our friends have told us that we're much better off selling when the weather warms up because there are no buyers out in winter and that the property doesn't present very well. So
Oof.
I don't want to alarm
Sheep,
people.
sheep, sheep.
It is, Mark. It is. It's sheep mentality. And I don't
Yeah,
want to alarm people, but the weather has nothing at all to do with the property market.
the
Just like it has
price.
nothing to do with the stock market, it has nothing to do with the property market. In fact, the
Yep.
bottom of the market was, I remember it distinctly because I'd sold a massive house in Manly. And I remember my vendor at the time saying to me, it was October 2022, and my vendor said to me, "I'm a little bit nervous because we are right at the bottom of the market. 9 bidders broke a Manly record per square meter." And it was summer, October. So, and that was the bottom of the market. So, what are your thoughts on it, Mark? What do you think about the weather and getting your property on the market and when's the best time to sell?
Look, I agree with you. There's not a relationship with price increases and climate. There's not. It's if anything, I'd say it's more economical, and it's more dependent on things like supply, demand, and things like that. But what you've got to understand is, yes, at the beginning of the show, I said people are like bears. Yeah, come out. Yes, more people out to buy, but I don't see those prices go up. That's what people should be looking for. How am I going to get the best price? At the moment, what people don't realize, people don't know the numbers as a whole in the Northern Beaches. And I've got to tell you, there's when it's a high stock market, there's 1,100 properties on realestate.com. When it's low stock market, there's probably 500 or 600 properties. That's super low stock market. There's 500 or 600 properties on realestate.com. I would be selling when stock is low.
Mark, just to let you know, you got a really you
What's
you
stock at
don't
the
have a great
moment?
connection there. Just to let you know as well, you're just lagging a little bit. But look,
Oh,
I agree, and I know as real estate agents, we always talk about stock levels, and I think it's important to point out what that means and what supply and demand means because this is real estate jargon. And here's the reality of it, guys. The seasons doesn't matter. Certainly, property and gardens look better in spring and summer. There is no doubt about that. Some properties, however, I
Yeah.
mean, I just went to a beautiful property today in DY, north facing. They're getting all of this winter sun coming through. I'd imagine it would be quite hot there in summer, being north facing. And that's not always the most ideal time to be putting that sort of property on the market either. Sometimes we walk into properties and they're stifling hot in summer and we cannot cool them down. But again, I just want to reiterate, guys, the weather, the seasons has nothing at all to do with whether or not you're going to get more or less money for your property. What is supply versus demand? When we have more demand, i.e., more buyers out looking for property, and less supply, i.e., less property on the market, that is a good time to be getting your property on the market. That is what we call a seller's market. When we've got more demand, i.e., more buyers than what we do supply properties, that is a buyer's market. At the moment, we are moving more into, in fact, I'd probably argue, Mark, that it is a seller's market now. Would you?
I think we're there.
I think we're there. I
I
think we
think we're
turned the
there.
corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we turned the corner
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago, actually. Because those stock
Yeah.
levels across the northern beaches are sitting now at about 630 properties collectively across the beaches. That's very low. That is very low.
Yeah. And guess what? Rates are going to probably come down the next month or two as well. So if we're not in a seller's
Yeah.
market now, we're bloody definitely in a seller's market then.
Okay, so
Definitely.
guys, can I just can I talk about that for a moment? Actually, on the show tomorrow, we've got Zach, who is the mortgage broker from Shaw Financial. He's going to come on. We're going to be talking about interest rates and the new first home buyers stuff that's coming out as well. That's really, really big news. But I do want to talk. Oh, bless you, Mark.
Thanks, Liz.
I do want to talk about those interest rates coming down because that's another thing that we hear about consistently from vendors, from sellers. They're saying, well, we're just going to wait till spring. We're just going to wait till another interest rate or two hit. Guys, I want to just reiterate this now. Stock levels are very low. Buyer demand is very high on the northern beaches, but I'm hearing that in other markets of Sydney and of Australia as well. The interest rate stuff, the buyers know that those interest rates are likely. In fact, I think we can almost guarantee that those interest rates are going to come down another one, probably two times before the end of the year. They know it's happening already now. So a lot of that frenzy is starting to happen. We had 26 groups come through a property on Saturday. We had people lining up out the front before the open home had even started. The
Only because I did
buyers
the open
know.
house.
And that's because you did it. That's right. But the buyers do know. They know that once those rates start to come down even more, those property prices may very well go up. So a lot of it, those buyers are overpaying for property now. The other thing that we're seeing, Mark, is we're seeing very days on market. What does that mean? The amount of days it takes to sell your property. I would
Yep.
suggest that those days on market have halved. And again, I'd suggest that this has happened over about the last 4 weeks. I reckon they've halved. So, Mark, you've got a property you're looking to sell. You're not in real estate. Um, what would you be thinking if I was a real estate agent? I came and saw you and said, "Here's the facts. Stock levels are low. Once we hit spring, those stock levels will change because everyone likes to get their property on the market in spring. You've got a
Yep.
very good opportunity of getting a phenomenal result in a very short time frame now because there is not a lot of competition.
I would,
When are you,
I'd
when
hands down, I would be rushing it on the market. Hands down, I would be rushing on the market. And most of the thing is people on that clock saying, "Oh, I was just planning to have it ready, in for spring." Rush it on now.
Yeah, I
100%.
agree. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
100%.
I agree, guys. So just be careful because again, everyone's got this sheep mentality, and everyone thinks, well, just wait for a couple of months, wait for the weather to warm up, and then we're going to get our property on the market. You are better off to sell in isolation than you are in competition. Why would you
Guaranteed.
wait to get your property on the market when everyone else is getting their property on the market? It just doesn't make sense. It
Now,
doesn't make sense to me.
it something we have to talk about is it's no good if you've got to buy in the same market. So yes, you're going to sell for very good money, but if you're buying in the same category class or a similar category class that's not
Yeah.
that's doing really, really well, you're paying more. So here's the deal. The cheaper houses and the cheaper units are doing phenomenally well. They are booming markets. I would say booming markets at the moment. That's 2 to 2.3 for a house in our area. That's 800 to 1 to 1 million for a unit in our area. They are thriving markets at the moment. But if you're going to be selling your house in a thriving market, 2 to 2.3, and you're buying in an average performing, that sort of 2.5 to 3 is not performing as well. So it's a perfect time to upgrade. Sometimes when you're moving through different ranges, when some ranges are
Mm.
doing well, you're selling high. The other ranges not doing well, you're buying low. Fact.
Yeah, I agree. And here's where we see, guys, a lot of people get into trouble when they play the property market as though they're going to go and play blackjack at the casino. They go, I know, because I've got friends that are in, they're in the global markets, and I know that property's going to come down. I'm going to get my property on the market now, and I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait
Yeah.
because property is going to come down. There's going to be a global crisis. Guys, that is not a good idea. Always
Yep.
be buying and selling in the same market if you can.
Well said.
When the
Well
market's
said.
high, great. When the market's
Yep.
low, great. As long as you're
Yep.
transacting in the same market, where, no word of a lie, I've got buyers that come to open homes and they've been coming consistently now for 5 years. I'm like, oh my God, guys, have you still not bought a property? Some of those properties have doubled in value now. And they're like, no, 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 we're
Yeah.
just going to wait. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? So,
Mm,
buying and selling in the same market is always a very, very smart idea. Um, the other thing I want to mention, and I know we do talk about it from time to time, but we do have what we call a staged marketing strategy for you guys. So, and how that works is we've got a plan A and we've got a plan B. Plan A is our $0 marketing strategy. It's our pre-market strategy, or off market, as many of you may know it. The great thing about that
yeah.
is you can actually get your property out to our database and out to our vast social media channels for $0 marketing. So you might say, look, if I don't get the price I want now, I'll just put the pause button on and I'm going to wait until spring, and then we'll launch and we'll do a full-blown campaign. So that $0 marketing strategy, that plan A, is ideal for you. We pay for your professional photos, we pay for your signboard, and we launch you out to our very, very curated database, and also out to our social media channels. That's a lot of the social media stuff that you see us doing. But that's a great thing to do. If you're like, no, I'm going to wait till spring, that's when the garden looks better, that's fine. But you've got the opportunity now to launch out using this pre-market strategy that we have on offer for
I
you
love that.
guys.
That's clever. That's clever. And I got to say, when you are selling and you don't care, you are a very powerful seller. When you are buying and you don't care, you're a very powerful buyer. As soon as you introduce urgency to buying or selling, it's dangerous. So I
Yeah.
like what you just said with the plan A. You go to the market now. I don't care. You get a great price. Boom. And something to also talk about is the digital footprint. You won't have it
Yeah,
with our
that's
plan A that we do that's
huge.
working with our
That's
top buyers.
huge.
You're not going to
Yeah.
have a digital footprint. You want to explain that, Lise? Because I know you like talking a lot.
Well, you get to do this show every day, Mike. I just get to do it every now and then. Except I'm going to be coming on every
Yeah.
Tuesday with Billy, actually. I'm going to make a little
Uh
guest appearance
oh.
every
Uh
Tuesday.
oh.
So what that means, this
Uh
is really
oh.
important, guys.
Yeah. Tell us about the
The,
digital footprint, Lise.
the,
Tell us
the,
about the
the,
digital footprint.
the digital footprint is very important because people are genuinely worried that if they've gone out to the real estate portals, say for instance, you launch now, you're like, we'll get it out to realestate.com and domain. We're going to launch it now. If we don't get the price, we'll just pause that campaign and then we'll reinstate it again in spring. The problem there is that you
Yeah.
have a digital footprint on RP data on realestate.com and on domain. So when someone Googles your address, it will pop up as 1 Pacific Street, Sydney, or whatever your address is, and it will show that you were on the market at that time, that your property was withdrawn or it didn't sell. So when you go to put it back on the market again in spring, it's a shocking look. The buyers know because they can see that data and they go, well, what happened with that property in Pacific Street? Why was it on the market just 3 months ago and it didn't sell? Right. And it does make buyers very, very nervous.
Loser,
So
loser.
so when we
Yeah.
haven't launched out to the real estate portals and we've only gone out to our database and we've only gone out to our social media, zero digital footprint. Very, very important. Very important.
Smart, smart.
Yep, it is smart. What else have you got to say, Mark?
So things that we covered so far. One, good time to sell, exceptional time to sell.
Yep, couldn't agree
Two,
more.
have witnessed and both confirmed that it's swung from a buyer's market all the way to a seller's
Correct.
market now.
Yep.
And if you don't believe us, watch what the next one or two rate reductions will what you're going to witness then. If you're selling to buy in a different price in a hot price range and buying in a not hot price range, pretty smart. Do it now. Don't wait. Also, the digital footprint, the plan A. You're worried about? Okay, let's just have a light touch
Mm.
now. We can do that. Lise, with what's
Uh,
happening in the world at the moment,
yeah, there's a lot going on in
how
the
is that
world.
going to affect what? There's a lot going on. How does that
Mm.
affect our economy? Um, that instability is probably a better reason for rate reductions for an economy, because it's like if there's sort of if the economy is booming, then they're not going to be pumping those rates,
Mm.
putting those rates down. They're going to be pumping it up if the economy. So I think with what's happening in the world, that's going to put pressure on rates to go down further. And then I think with what's happening in the world, people cling on certainty. They
Mm.
cling
Yeah.
on, they don't want to be in a stock market of volatility. They want something tangible. Billy taught me the word tangible today. They want something tangible.
Yeah. Look,
So
I
they
agree,
go to
Mark, and I
property.
think,
They go to
yeah,
property.
100%, because that is a very, very stable asset class. And the problem is, you would think that what's going on in the Middle East wouldn't have this ripple on effect to us here in Australia. We're so far away, but the reality is anything like that actually does. It does have an effect on a variety of markets. So you can only imagine that people have got money in the stock market, the share market. They get nervous.
Yeah.
It's volatile.
Nasdaq,
Um,
ASX, yeah. And you know
they
what?
do.
It's
They
least
get they
it's
get nervous.
sentiment.
It's a very,
You
very
can't
volatile
tell me
market.
like feel happy, feel sad. Like it does affect that sentiment of a human. I don't care where you live. It just does affect that,
Yeah.
when there's war in Ukraine and right, and there's stuff going on in Russia and there's stuff going on in the US with,
Mm,
yeah, it does affect people's sentiments. So when they wake up or when they make business or any decisions, there is an effect there from their sentiment. That
yeah.
does make adjustments to a market.
It definitely does. And what we've seen historically is, when there has been world wars or, lots of there's been so many things that have been taking place
COVID.
over the last few years where you've got COVID and all the tariff talk. And, there's just been so much for people to digest. But the reality of it is that the real estate market has always performed extremely well. It's always been a very reliable asset class. So we always see
Yeah.
in these times of uncertainty, when there's a war going on or multiple wars going on, that property historically has performed quite well as people start to move their money into something that is far more stable. Just something else, Mark, that I just want to add in here as well. Selling now, guys, and waiting until spring is also not a bad idea. Then you've got your cash in your pocket, you're ready to go shopping. So by the time that stock hits in spring, you'll have quite a variety of choice. You just want to watch if that market shifts even 5%. And I know that before the end of the year, it's tipped to move 10 to 15%. Anthony Bellmark from Bell Partners was talking about that at a big real estate conference that we went to. But you just want to watch that market. If you have sold, you wait till spring to get into the market when there's more stock around. And if that market shifts 5%, that could mean that you're pushed out of the market. So just be careful. Be careful. What else,
Careful.
Mark?
Yeah. If you've sold, yeah, I agree. Like selling and waiting to buy, don't do it. Don't do that.
It is dangerous
Don't do that.
territory. Definitely dangerous territory. All right, guys, I think that's a show. That's
What,
it from us.
yeah.
Did you have something else to say,
So
Mark?
that's.
Very talkative tonight.
I'm just thinking there was something else headline news that. What was that?
Sorry, you're just cutting out. We've got a really bad line. Really bad line.
Sorry. No, that's it. That's it. Hopefully that's helped people out there.
Yeah, hope so,
Hopefully
guys.
that's helped people
So,
out there.
just in short, no need to wait till spring. Get your property on the market now. Supply is very low. Plenty of cashed
Yep.
up buyers ready to go. If we can help you out at all with our $0 marketing strategy or anything at all, ever, always feel free to reach out.
Don't forget the difference in strata and the difference in Torrens title. I've been chanting the last 12 to 18 months that strata is going to go off like a pork chop,
Yeah,
as in units, townhouses, and strata is now going off like a pork chop. I'm right. It started and it's going to go for probably 36 months. So if you can afford to buy something, do it now. I'm telling you guys, not houses, units. Buy
units.
them.
There you go. The last famous words. Guys, have a great night.
See ya. Bye, Lisa. Lovely
See you
chatting to
guys.
you.